Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next session of Fundamentals of Marketing Management. As we proceed today with our further sessions of marketing management, there are two main important topics that we will be discussing today. As we have not talked about the careers in marketing research, we will be talking about the career opportunities that are there in the marketing research sector, and we will also be discussing about the uh, scopes of the aspirants in the different job opportunities that are available in front of you as far as your marketing research is concerned. We will also speak about the ethics in marketing and marketing research. So, as we proceed, the learning objectives of today's session is to become aware of the career opportunities in the field of marketing research, to understand the concept of social responsibility and ethics in marketing research, to understand the marketing's multiple responsibilities and identifying the major social and ethical criticisms of marketing, to define consumerism and environmentalism and explain how they affect the marketing strategies, describing the principles of socially responsible marketing, and also to explain the role of ethics in marketing. So, before we reach the ethical part of marketing and marketing research, we will first discuss about the careers in marketing research. The career opportunities that are available with marketing research firms are, Mark has a lot of opportunities, Nelson Burke. So, careers in business and non business firms and agencies with in house marketing research departments like Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola, AT&T, the Federal Trade Commission, United States Census Bureau. All these are the firms which have careers in business and non-business firms. Then, of course, with in-house marketing research departments. And of course, there are multiple advertising agencies where you can pursue careers as a marketing researcher, like BBDO International or Ogilvy and Mather, which is one of the leading firms of advertising. Then Walter Thompson is there, Young and Rubicam is there. So, of course, the positions in marketing research vary from right from the vice president's post to research director, assistant director of research, project manager, field work director, statistician, data processing specialist, senior analysis, junior analysts, and operational supervisors. So whenever you want to, actually pursue career in marketing research, you should not think that there are less opportunities, but there are so many different types of jobs that are available out there. And with the rise in the social media marketing, there is a lot of opportunity for the marketing researcher in the fields of analytics and marketing analytics, especially. So, while preparing for your career in marketing research, one should not be hesitant at all and try to take as many marketing courses as you can and polish your skills in marketing research as much as you can, so that when you tap the doors of all these big firms that I've just named, you should be bubbling with so much of knowledge about marketing research that they will be uh, very keen to actually absorb you. And there are so many multinationals out there who are keen to absorb skilled professionals in the field of research, especially marketing research and analytics. And of course, you should take courses in statistics and quantitative methods also, because this improves your skills in marketing analytics. You should acquire a lot of knowledge about internet programming, like working in Python language, some softwares, computer skills. Knowledge of programming languages is, of course, always an added asset to your skills as far as your marketing research is concerned. You should also try to take some courses in consumer psychology and consumer behavior, so that you can actually do a lot of research in this field, because a lot of companies are investing huge amounts in research in these types of areas, because for every firm it is very important for them to understand the consumer behavior, and only then can they devise good products, and accordingly they can devise their marketing strategies as per the consumer behaviors and consumer psychology. And of course, to acquire effective written and verbal communication skills is another very important aspect as far as your preparation for a career in marketing research is concerned. You should be a creative thinker. Your common sense command in a in a general business situation will decide as to which type of job you will be able to grab in case of marketing research. So now that we have talked about careers in marketing research, you must have definitely become very interested in these areas, and that is why it is very important for you to take up marketing management as a subject, and first understand marketing as a whole, and that is the whole reason behind uh, you know uh, publishing these videos on YouTube for you people, for your benefits, and especially for the learners who are in the starting phase of management lessons. Marketing management today is one of the most sought after branches, and its sub branches like digital marketing, marketing analytics is really in boom, and there are so many career opportunities out there that you will never try to look back once you have entered it. It's a huge ocean only if you learn to swim. So now let's move ahead and talk a bit of marketing and society and the social responsibility and the ethics in marketing research. The first and foremost lessons that anybody needs to learn for being socially responsible while conducting your marketing research. It is very important for you to understand what you sell is important, but you have to be proud to be in a business. You have to make a solid commitment towards the ethics that you are following, and whatever research you are doing, it shouldn't be unethical, and it shouldn't cross the boundaries of ethics, no matter what. And whatever data you are luring out for conducting your research or collecting from general consumer, that should be that should be collected after taking the respondents in total confidence, and they should be aware of the purpose of the research and for what basis this research is getting conducted. They should never be kept in any sort of dark, and that is why it is a researcher's responsibility to give every precise detail to the respondents while collecting the research. This is one of the most important ethical issues to be followed by marketing research person, because marketing has a lot of impact on the individual consumers, like the high prices due to high cost of distribution, high advertising and promotion costs, excessive markups, deception practices, high pressure selling, shoddy or unsafe products, planned obsolescence, poor service to the disadvantaged customers. We've spoken about all this when we had studied ethics in marketing. So now that we have to tackle these issues in marketing research, it is very important for us to first understand that what is the impact of marketing on the society as a whole. Any kind of false wants and too much materialism, too few social goods, cultural pollution, too much of political power in it, these are the things which are creating a lot of impact in marketing, and that is why any kind of unfair practices by marketing researchers in the area of marketing research will be really harmful for the organization as a whole. So now let us begin with our main topic of discussion, that is marketing and the society, marketing research and the responsibility of a researcher towards the society, and what are the marketing research ethics that one has to follow. So the foremost question that we need to answer today is, what are the ethical practices in marketing research? So, a marketing research or market research ethics are basically the moral principles that guide the responsibility of a researcher to conduct and analyze the research without deceiving or without deception to ensure authenticity at every step of the marketing research, or every step of the market research effort, a market research company takes measures to ensure that both the participants and the clients are treated absolutely fairly and especially with respect. So, as far as the ethics of the participants are concerned, it is essential to understand the participants' rights when conducting market research, such as the focus groups, in-depth interviews, any kind of surveys that are held. Participants are a huge part of the market research, and the ethical practices actually create a compelling report that has credibility in the industry. Unless these ethics are followed by the participants in the research, the credibility of the research will be lost, and people will not believe in any such researching agency which is not following the code of conduct of the participants who are participating in the research. So, the next most important aspect is stressing the anonymity of the responses. The researcher basically has the duty of clearly stating whether the responses will be kept confidential and anonymous before the participation begins. So, moreover, the researchers should allow all the participants to remain anonymous, and their right to confidentiality should always be respected. So, it becomes highly important that the participants have their privacy protected by the researchers at all the times. This includes the demographic questions and other information which is collected by the researcher to be kept absolutely confidential during the time of the survey also and post survey also. So, just knowing that the individual answers won't be associated with names may comfort the participants to a greater level, and it will also encourage additional details to be shared by the participants with the researchers. So clearly, one has to clearly state the goals of the research and the objectives of the research with the clients. So it is highly crucial that the analyst documents the participants' consent to participate in the market research and is fully informed about the goals and the objectives of the research. Which means that when we are starting the research, before the research has even started, the marketing researcher should explain the goals of the research to the researcher as to what is the objective behind the research that is being conducted, and how their responses will be recorded and used further in the research. So that is why this plays a very crucial role in case of you know the collection of the correct data and relevant data for the researcher. For instance, a good ethical practice for the focus groups is to first set up a list of FAQs, which are the most frequently asked questions about what to expect out of that research. So, this also reduces the perceived risk in the eyes of participants, and thus it adds credibility to the focus group company. Moving ahead, the next important aspect is making a fair trade. So, as a market research company, you depend on the participation and cooperation of those who are willing to assist in the research. Even if in future you maybe get associated with the marketing research organization, and you as an associate of that marketing research organization, being a researcher, you know you depend a lot on the participation and cooperation of those who are willing to assist you in the research. So in some ways these participants are the customers who are needed to buy in and partake in the research as well. So because of this relationship, there is a responsibility of the market research company to accommodate the customers through the process, right? So, because of this relationship, it becomes highly important for the organization to make a fair trade with the participants, so that nobody feels cheated during the process of the research, or nobody feels that they were kept in some sort of dark, or some important points behind the research, or the objectives of the research were not totally disclosed to the participants. Okay. So the next important thing in conducting an ethically sound market research is to offer incentives whenever and wherever possible. So, proper compensation is perhaps the most significant way to ensure a fair exchange of the participant services. So, for all the effort and time and commitment that is put in by the participant in your research, and for all that, there should be some compensation which must be offered to the research participants, because, every type of different research methodology, it demands different types of incentives, such as much higher compensation for a full day with a rigorous focus group than a few minutes spent on a satisfaction online survey. So that is the difference. There might be one research in which the participants are required to spend an entire day, whereas any kind of online survey requires a few minutes spent online. So there is a big difference between the two, and that is why, in the research which requires more time and more commitment by the research participants, the incentive should also be the same. Or particularly with the qualitative research, when the participants feel that they are sufficiently rewarded, they will be more likely to fully engage with the research and do so very genuinely, because they believe that whatever time and effort and energy we are imparting in responding uh, towards the research, or by participating in the research, we are getting paid back for that. So, on the other hand, the benefit of an incentive for an online survey is usually the high response rates. So that is the difference when you are conducting a research which is a full-time research requiring more time dedication by the respondents. Now, the next aspect that one should not forget when conducting a marketing research is that honesty is the best policy. A very common saying in English, but a very important saying as far as marketing research ethics are concerned. So, another key to demonstrating respect for the participants is being as transparent as the research can allow you to be. So, unless the disclosure of the research objectives on a broader level is prohibited, it is a good idea to inform the participants or about what they are actually contributing to, which means the exact idea or reason behind conduction of that research should be explained properly to the participants of the research, unless of course the research is of high importance to the brand, and the details have to be kept secret that such kind of research is being conducted by the brand, because it might somehow lead to the competitors also starting the same type of research, or understanding what your next moves in your marketing strategies are going to be. So unless you want to actually keep it so much of secret, disclosure of the research objectives is a better option. And even if you are trying to keep some secrets, you have to explain that also to your participants, and take a consent form that they have no objections with the secrets that have been kept from them. So being forthright with the participants establishes a great deal of trust from the beginning of the research itself, and this may even motivate them to help improve the sponsoring company by telling them what is right, what is wrong, by trying to reframe their questionnaire from their point of view, that in these questions I have not been able to respond properly to them because they were maybe confusing me or something, instead of just leaving them unanswered or answering them very vaguely. Because if any of such responses are not truthful or vaguely responded, ultimate goal of, or the ultimate objective of the research, or the purpose of the research is totally defeated when your respondent is not responding sincerely. So that is why honesty is the best policy. Now the next one is about frugging, you know and it says that one should be aware of frugging. Frugging basically is a fundraiser, or a fundraising method, wherein uh, you know in market research, frugging is basically a fundraising under the guise of research actually. you know so when you are falsely reporting that we are conducting some research, and rather you are trying to generate some funds for your brand under the disguise of a survey or any other form of market research. So a sincere research study would never demand money out of the participants' own pockets. Rather, this should be the one who is supposed to be paying for it, or paying at least an honorarium or a compensation to the participants. So, frugging is a very damaging practice, which a lot of times has been seen around, and this actually creates a dilemma in the minds of the respondents, because sometimes they are not making able to make up whether the research is actually being conducted by a brand, and originally by a brand, or it's just a fundraising activity in disguise of a research. So that is why one should be aware of this. And of course, then the next thing that everybody needs to understand is the right to refuse in case of any type of research, especially marketing. So I'll just give you an example of the case of General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR). This is a law in Europe wherein the individuals within Europe are guaranteed data privacy protections by the law. In the context of market research, these individuals have the right to receive a copy of or maybe eliminate the personal data that was gathered through the survey. So, while no comparative legislation exists in the United States, confidence in the use of personal data is a necessity for market research participants. So, but still, the participants have the right to refuse to whatever data they do not want to share with the organization, and the organizations cannot force them into sharing their personal details unless accepted by the respondent in written. Then, of course, disclosing the use of any personal data, the standard practice which we have always seen is to disclose the use of any personal data which is captured from the research as it is gathered. For example, if the email addresses are collected and just to send an incentive, they should be only and solely used for that purpose only. Which means that if they were collected to send the incentive, they should be used only to send the incentive. The data that has been acquired should not be used for any other practice other than the research purpose, or maybe that data should not be leaked to any other outside agencies or maybe the marketing agencies within the organization just for promotional purposes. So that should not happen. These are very petty practices which are actually ruin the goodwill of an organization or just sabotage the reputation of an organization. Then, of course, the participants, if they were not agreeing to receive a newsletter or have their email addresses sold to the marketing companies, they should be given that option too. Like in most of the emailer newsletters, there is an option to unsubscribe from their email letters or the newsletters. It's an ethical code of conduct in the cyber laws. Unless that option is there, you cannot send your newsletters to the subscribers without their consent. So of course, then later on, there is another very important aspect that I want to discuss here, which is that the participants of the research should have the freedom to receive freedom to refuse answering to any particular question with the which they are uncomfortable. So it is very important for the market research company to explicitly mention the freedom of a participant which he has to refuse to answer to any question or maybe withdraw participation at any point of time during the research. No participant actually wants to feel trapped, so making this clear is a great way for a market research company to set the right tone for an interview or a survey. In the recruitment stage for maybe qualitative research, your prospective participants also reserve the right to deny participation or further contact from the market research company or market research recruitment company for any other purposes other than that research only. So this respect during the recruitment, it helps ensure a positive image for the research process even when the individuals opt not to participate in it. The next is stereotyping and the bias that is there in the market research. And these things are something which should be avoided by the researchers. So, when discussing the ethics, it is highly important to consider the different types of biases that exist in market research. These biases are often very hard to identify and are either consciously or maybe unconsciously they follow the preconceived notions, tendencies, and trends. So ethical market researchers, they should avoid any kind of bias as much as possible. Otherwise, the result will not be truly beneficial for the sponsoring company. So taking this, bias a bit further, and there are. I want to just share with you that there are two main types of bias, which include confirmation bias and culture bias. So I'll just share these two types of bias in brief with you. The first type of bias that I mentioned, which is the confirmation bias, is actually considered as the tendency to search for or favor the information that is consistent and confirm one's existing beliefs. So it is one of the most prevalent and long recognized forms of bias, which is present in all sorts of market research. So when you're failing to interpret the information in an unbiased way, this can lead to many types of misjudgments and inaccurate analysis during the research. So this results in a biased favoring or maybe biased interpretation and recall of the information. So that is why, to combat confirmation bias, researchers must consider alternative hypotheses also and try to avoid forming a hypothesis too early, unless you have done quite a bit of literature review and studied a lot about the problem in discussion, unless you have actually understood the research gap, where is the research gap, and what is the research problem. So after designing the research problem, after understanding the research gap, after having done some literature review, even doing a small little pilot testing, only after that you should actually design your hypothesis. And once the hypothesis have been stated properly, after that you need to properly test your hypothesis also, whether your hypotheses are also researchable or not. So that is why this confirmation bias, is a very damaging for any research. It defeats the entire purpose of research if it exists in the research process. The next is culture bias. So this culture bias is basically the interpretation of situations, actions or data based on the standards of one's own culture. So this bias can also potentially lead to stigma and stereotyping based on assumptions. So thus, it is very important to avoid the generalizations which are done during the examination of the data. So overall, it is very difficult to conduct market research without a bias. However, you know through correct understanding and through understanding its potential, analysts can provide an insightful and unbiased information to the client also. So now we are almost reaching towards the end of the discussion of the market research ethics. We have talked about a lot of things in market research ethics and the codes of conduct that should be followed while conducting a marketing research. I just have one or two more points to discuss with you, and then I'll give you some brief examples of marketing research ethics and ethics in marketing. So, here are the ethics of big data and privacy. Big data today is, something of a great deal for the business analysts, especially in marketing analytics. Big data is playing a very important role. So, this term big data, what is it? For those who do not know much about analytics, and those who are actually in the starting phase of marketing management as a subject, this term term big data refers to the data that is continuously coming at a very higher velocity in huge bulks and volumes into the management information systems of the organization. And the variety is also, too diverse in case of this data, and that is why it is more complex than any other sort of traditional data. So when we talk about this big data, there are its own pros and cons. The pros of using big data are, of course, the fact that the sources of big data are also becoming more complex, and big data is now being pulled from the mobile devices or social media and numerous other sources. So this allows the market researchers to gather a wide variety of information so as to gain, ultimate valuable insights into the data, which is belonging to the consumer behavior, consumer psychology, consumer purchase decision making behaviors, sometimes, just the consumer responses towards different types of advertising and other types of marketing stunts and marketing campaigns by the organization. So now that we have talked about the pros of big data, we will also speak about the cons of big data. So the cons of using big data are that, however, using big data has also raised concerns regarding the individual privacy and its implications. Currently, the information is beginning to become automatic and passive collecting. So, big data makes use of advanced technologies like location based technology, facial recognition systems, eyeball tracking systems, and some types of autonomous sensors. So, this means that large amounts of data are being collected independently of the human action. So this data basically allows the company to assess even more data while the consumer may have a very little or no awareness of the fact that any such data is being collected from him. So the client is altogether in a dark and they don't even know that what is going on. So this makes the organizations who are using these big data fall into the bars of the ethical constraints. Now, one more thing that I wanted to discuss with you was the impact of artificial intelligence on market research. See, artificial intelligence is everywhere, especially with the highly developed artificial intelligence of search engines like Google and social media advancements like Facebook and Instagram. So, with the combination of the smartphones and the internet, users leave behind their trails of data everywhere they go, on every site that they visit, every little website surfing that they do. And artificial intelligence keeps on tracing your trails wherever you have gone, and they just capture the data as to whatever you have done on the internet, and they start taking benefit of it. Say today you go on Mintra's one particular website and you really like a t-shirt on Mintra, and you stay back observing the t-shirt, finding out the material, the clothing material that is used in it, and then find out its price, and then go through its customer reviews. Bang, it's done. And the next moment, whichever website or whichever social media website you're going to open, what do you find? You find that t-shirts ad by Mintra on all those different websites that you're opening. How does that happen? Yes, it is the artificial intelligence that is working so brilliantly. But isn't it a breach of privacy sometimes? They are forcing you, they are hammering you constantly to buy that t-shirt, the ones that you were just surfing on some website. And sometimes just because you're looking at that advertisement so many times, you feel like making the purchase. So Furthermore, as artificial intelligence enters the homes and becomes a part of our everyday life, companies will have even more data on the consumers to use for their research purposes. This means that the researchers will be able to learn even more about the consumer behavior and their purchasing habits. So, overall, it is essential for the market researchers to communicate transparently with respondents and consumers to ensure that the big data continues to be gathered ethically. So with this we have spoken a lot about marketing research ethics and the codes of conduct that should be followed while conducting any research ethically. I just want to share a little example with you. The Body Shop is an example of a company which marketed itself and its entire product range solely on an ethical message. Although its products were deceptively characterized and its history was marked by misinterpretations. The Body Shop's only real product is on honesty. This was said by John and Tyne in an ethics audit of the company. However, the story of this Body Shop ended with increasing criticism of a gap between its morals and its practices. So, similar are the examples of multiple other organizations which are not practicing marketing research and their marketing campaigns ethically. But there are some examples of really sound ethical firms. So, did you have any idea that 92% of the millennial consumers are more likely to buy products from the ethical companies? Or that 82% of those consumers believe that ethical brands outperform similar companies that lack a commitment to the ethical principles? I have some examples here to share with you. Like Tom's isn't just engaged in corporate philanthropy to make a quick buck, it is a core part of the company's values and brands. So Tom's was founded by Blake Mycoskie in 2006 following a trip to Argentina. During his visit to Mycoskie saw firsthand that how people living in the impoverished areas of Argentina had to live without shoes, which is actually a challenge, for people like us. So, inspired by his trip, Mycoskie decided to establish his company with giving in some mind, and he stated that in his marketing campaign, which said, "Where we give." With the support of Tom's customers and the giving partners, Tom's Giving has reached more than 70 million people across 6 continents. Right? So, since 2006, Tom's footwear business has donated more than 60 million pairs of shoes to children in need all over the world. As if that weren't enough, Tom's eyewear division has given more than 4 lakh pairs of glasses to visually impaired people who lack access to ophthalmological care. The company has further diversified its operation to include clean water initiatives through its coffee business. And its line of bags has helped support projects to expand access to the birthing kits to expectant mothers in developing nations, as well as training for birth attendants. To date, Tom's has helped more than 25,000 women safely deliver their babies. Commendable job by a brand like this. So, how does Tom use ethical marketing? Tom's puts its social and environmental philanthropy on full display in virtually every aspect of its branding. This is not only, lets potential customers know the kind of company they are dealing with, right off the bat, but also reinforce Tom's brand values consistently across all channels. Take a look at Tom's homepage, which I had depicted earlier in one of the slides. Right underneath the carousel, the company tells you that for every product you purchase, Tom's will help someone in need. So I have shown that homepage here to you people. With every product you purchase, Tom's will help a person in need, one for one. So Tom's mission is so central to the company's branding. It is given almost equal emphasis on its website as the products itself. In fact, it's almost impossible to navigate through Tom's site without seeing further examples of how Tom's helps people around the world. So, this isn't a typically cynical attempt to capitalize on empty gestures or a feel good sales tactic. It's the same principle which is leveraged by brands that use display advertising. Just many display ads are designed to promote brand awareness and achieve top of mind presence amongst the customers and the consumers. So, Tom's philanthropic mission is constantly reinforced throughout its website and marketing materials as well. So, as a result, it's almost impossible to think of Tom's as a brand without thinking of the company's various outreach projects and corporate giving initiatives. The next example that I have to share with you people is Patagonia's Don't Buy This Jacket advertisement. And this, since the fast fashion giants like Zara replaced the biannual clothing cycle with a weekly cycle, with a textile consumption has increased by around 400% in 2 decades. So according to the documentary The True Cost, this trend towards cheap and replaceable fashion has increased a lot of environmental pollution and redoubled the sweatshop labor in the undeveloped countries. So Patagonia insists that people buy less. The premium outdoor clothing wear has built a reputation for being ethical, environmentally friendly, and unorthodox in its marketing. The "Don't Buy This Jacket" campaign of 2011 actually snapped shoppers to attention and compelled them to rethink over their needless purchasing. The real message of "Don't Buy This Jacket," and it continues to be the real message of the Patagonia in terms of consumption, is don't buy this jacket if you don't need it. This was told by Alex Weller, who is Patagonia's European managing director. I'm sorry, marketing director. So Patagonia's brand mission is to change the people's relationship to things and encourage them to become more cautious and careful consumers. The average American now creates 82 pounds of textile waste per year. So this helps raise awareness and loyalty among a growing pool of conscientious customers and consumers. So the linchpin of Patagonia's daring advertising is its dedication to environmental initiatives such as offering free repairs on lifetime warranty products via the Common Threads initiative, donating all 2017 Black Friday sales a record $10 million to grassroots green organizations, pledging 1% of the annual sales since 1985 to environmental preservation, switching in 1994 to organically grown cotton to avoid pesticides. So these sustainable initiatives also create a unique brand experience for the buyers also, and buying Patagonia lets people feel that they are contributing to a larger movement while making a personal choice to source sustainably. To create an ethical marketing plan, begin with an analysis of your own company. You should, the customers, the supply chain, everything should be sought after and thought of properly. One should identify the ways to source sustainability and remain profitable as well, and leverage any green initiatives into a marketing environment. So that is all from my side for today. We have discussed a lot about marketing research, and we have also also discussed the ethics in marketing research today. We have taken a few examples of ethical marketing also separately. And that is all from my side for this session. I hope that it was informative for you. So, this is Dr. Swati Mishra from International School of Business Management at Suresh Gambiar University signing off. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.